This is the Music History Today podcast for November the 5th. On today's show, tragedy strikes at a Travis Scott concert, Nat King Cole debuts, and Elvis leaves the building. First up, though, on this date in 1901, the Warsaw Philharmonic Orchestra debuted. In 1942, Broadway musical composer George M. Cohan passed away at his home in Manhattan at the age of 64. In 1955, the Vienna State Opera reopened after it had been destroyed during World War II. The first performance was of Beethoven's Fidelio. In 1956, Nat King Cole debuted his TV variety show, becoming the first African American to host a TV network show. The first show was on NBC and lasted 1 year. Also on that same day, 1956, jazz pianist Art Tatum passed away in Los Angeles from kidney failure at the age of 47. In 1960, country music singer Johnny Horton passed away when he was involved in a car accident after a performance in Milano, Texas. Johnny Horton was 33 years old at the time. In 1967, the Hither Green train accident occurred when a train that had Robin Gibb of the Bee Gees as a passenger derailed in London, England, killing 49 people. Robin Gibb was among those who helped to pull people to safety during the accident. In 1971, in order to get people out of the Met Center in Bloomington, Minnesota after an Elvis Presley concert, when people were expecting Elvis to do an encore, announcer Al Dvorin went into the history books and announced over the PA system, quote, "Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has left the building," end quote. And now you know where that phrase comes from. In 1977, a manager of a Virgin Records store in Nottingham, England, was arrested because he had a poster promoting the new Sex Pistols album. In 1977, same day, the man whose signature song is the New Year's Eve classic Auld Lang Syne, orchestra leader Guy Lombardo passed away in Houston, Texas at the age of 75. In 1987, the musical Into the Woods premiered on Broadway at the Martin Beck Theater. In 1988, Edie Brickell of Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians met Paul Simon when her band was the musical guest on Saturday Night Live, with Paul Simon as the host that night. They ended up getting married 4 years later. In 1989, the singer of the song The Ballad of the Green Beret, Military Sergeant Barry Sadler, passed away in Murfreesboro, Tennessee at the age of 49 from complications from a gunshot wound after being shot in Guatemala in September 1988. In 1999, Van Halen announced that the group had parted ways with lead singer Gary Cherone. In 2003, Bobby Hatfield of the Righteous Brothers passed away at the age of 63 from exacerbated heart failure in his hotel room before a concert in Kalamazoo, Michigan. What exacerbated the heart failure? Well, we can't say because, regulations from streaming services and all, but put two and two together. In 2005, rock guitarist Link Wray passed away from heart issues in Copenhagen, Denmark at the age of 76. In 2006, the band The Black Veil Brides was formed in Cincinnati, Ohio. In 2021, a stampede at a Travis Scott concert during the Astroworld Festival at NRG Park in Houston, Texas, injured hundreds of fans and killed 10 people. In 2022, singer-songwriter Aaron Carter passed away from an accidental drowning at his home in Lancaster, California at the age of 34. In award ceremonies that were held on November the 5th in 2003, Martina McBride and Alan Jackson were among the big winners at the Country Music Association Awards. And in 2012, Aerosmith's old apartment building that they lived in before they became famous at 1325 Commonwealth Avenue in Boston, Massachusetts, became an historic landmark. In 2014, Miranda Lambert, Blake Shelton, and Luke Bryan were among the big winners at the Country Music Television Awards. And in 2022, Duran Duran, Dolly Parton, Eminem, Pat Benatar with Neil Giraldo, Lionel Richie, The Eurythmics, Judas Priest, Carly Simon, Harry Belafonte, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, Jimmy Levine, Sylvia Robinson, Elizabeth Cotten, and Alan Grubman were all inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Albums that were released on November the 5th include in 1965 when Manfred Mann released Man Made. In 1971, Elton John released his classic Madman Across the Water, and Barclay James Harvest released Barclay James Harvest and Other Short Stories. In 1971, same day, by the way, Status Quo released Dog of Two Head. In 1982, Susie and the Banshees released A Kiss in the Dream House. In 1984, Alison Moyet released Alf, and REO Speedwagon released Wheels Are Turnin'. In 1991, Paul Simon released Paul Simon's Concert in the Park. In 1996, Johnny Cash released Unchained. In 2001, Simple Minds released The Best of Simple Minds. In 2002, Justin Timberlake released his big album, Justified. The Church released Parallel Universe. The Wallflowers released Red Letter Days. Eric Clapton released One More Car, One More Rider. Little Feat released Live at the Ram's Head. Paul Simon was at it again, this time releasing the Paul Simon Collection, On My Way, Don't Know Where I'm Going. In 2007, The Who released View from a Backstage Pass. In 2012, Focus released Focus 10. In 2013, Kool and the Gang released Cool for the Holidays. Bob Dylan released the Complete Album Collection Volume 1. And in 2021, ABBA released their first album in 40 years, Voyage. Singles that were released on November the 5th include in 1958 when Buddy Holly released Heartbeat. In 1962, The Supremes released Let Me Go the Right Way. In 1965, The Small Faces released I've Got Mine, and Marvin Gaye released Ain't That Peculiar, both of those in the UK at the time. In 1970, The Supremes and the Four Tops released River Deep, Mountain High, and Led Zeppelin did a twofer. They released Hey Hey, What Can I Do? And Immigrant Song. In 1971, Cilla Black released Something Tells Me Something's Gonna Happen Tonight in the UK at that time. And the Supremes and Four Tops released You Gotta Have Love in Your Heart, but in the UK at that time. Meanwhile, in America, T-Rex released Jeepster on that same date. In 1973, Leonard Skinner released Gimme 3 Steps. In 1974, the Eagles released The Best of My Love. In 1979, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers released Don't Do Me Like That. In 1980, the Doobie Brothers released One Step Closer. In 1996, Bryan Adams with Barbra Streisand released I Finally Found Someone. And in 2007, David Gray released You're the World to Me, but only in the UK at that time. Before we continue, we'd like to tell you that we've started Season 2 of the Music History In-Depth podcast, where we go more in-depth on some of the events that we mention on this particular podcast. The Music History In-Depth podcast drops every Tuesday on this podcast network. Now, back to the Music History Today podcast. Artists who were born on November the 5th include Kevin Jonas of the Jonas Brothers, EDM artist DJ Flume, singer-songwriter Ryan Adams, Art Garfunkel of Simon & Garfunkel, Ike Turner of Ike and Tina Turner, country music and film legend and also entrepreneur Mr. Roy Rogers, Johnny Greenwood of Radiohead, Heather and Jennifer Kinley of the group The Kinleys, singer-songwriter Bryan Adams, not to be confused, of course, with Ryan Adams, who also shares the same exact birthday, go figure, Graham Parsons of The Byrds, Brian Wheat of Tesla, David Moyse of Air Supply, Mike Score of A Flock of Seagulls, Don McDougall of The Guess Who, Peter Hamill of Vandergraaf Generator, Peter Noon of Herman's Hermits, singer Lolita Holloway, Pablo Gomez of Los Bravos, Herman Brood of Herman Brood and His Wild Romance, singer Charles Bradley, Rob Fisher of Climby Fisher, rapper PZ, and singer BOA. Artists who unfortunately passed away on November the 5th, other than the ones mentioned earlier, include organist Bedrich Viederman, jazz pianist Buddy Cole, Bobby Nunn of the Coasters, pianist Vladimir Horowitz, composer and singer Bobby Scott, opera singer McHenry Boatwright, jazz saxophonist Eddie Harris. Epic soundtracks of These Immortal Souls, also Crime and the City Solution, and also the group Swell Maps. Singer-songwriter Jimmy Davis, Billy Guy of the Coasters, pianist David Bar-Ilan, opera singer Virginia McWaters, lyricist Felix Luna, opera singer Shirley Verray, Lee Crystal of Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, singer Robin Knight, singer Len Berry of the Davels, rapper Braxatax, singer-songwriter Marilia Mendonca, and opera singer Ryland Davies. Next on the Music History Today podcast, it is November the 6th when in 1975, the Sex Pistols played their very first gig.